Old people being jerks. When you're young, you put up with a lot more than you do when you get older because you're supposed to be taught to respect your elders. I was working in a bowling alley when I was a teenager, and we had tournaments. During the tournaments, the later it got, the worse the people got. And there were different leagues. There was one particular league that was older, retired people. And they were worse than any other league out there. They would come in and start drinking their beer. Some of the older ladies would say they were drinking a Bloody Mary and they would put tomato juice in their beer. Well, I'd never heard of that before. I don't know if I've heard of it since, but maybe it's a thing. So the kitchen was on one side, and then there was like a middle section that had where you washed your dishes and the refrigerators and freezers were. And then on the other side was a bar with pool tables. So if they wanted alcohol, they'd have to go over to the bar or somebody would come around and bring it to them. And as the night went on, they got worse and worse and worse. And you talk about entitlement attitude. These people had this way back in the late 70s and early 80s. It was a combination, I think, of age and alcohol. The later it got, the worse they got. Had to finish this in a couple of parts. All right, so I guess I'm done talking about the misbehaving old people, at least out on the lanes. So the people that I worked for, it was a husband and wife manager team. He was as sweet as the day is long, and she was just mean. She was hateful. And we didn't have a whole lot to do if there weren't any customers. We had 2 griddles, 2 deep fryers, and we had enough seating for about 6 people around the little snack bar. So literally, if there's no customers, not even giving out sodas, then there's nothing to do. You can clean everything up and you wait. So she would come in and about the same time every day, and she would want a hamburger patty. They were frozen. She'd want it thawed, and then we would have the cut up onions that were diced up, and she would put the onions on this raw hamburger patty, and she would roll it up, and she would eat it like that, which I thought was disgusting. It's frozen. You don't know what's in it. Anyway, she was kind of a frightful looking woman. She had this white hair that she dyed black, and the roots were always showing just a little bit, and it was cut pretty short. And she would wear this headband to keep the hair off of her face, so it kind of poofed up in the back and on the top. And she said it was because she was allergic to her own hair. It kind of puzzled me why she was putting hair dye on something she was allergic to. I would just leave well enough alone. Anyway, she looked like she came out of the cast of the Munsters. So one day, I'm standing around talking. There's nothing to do. There was another girl there that I worked with named Terry. We're standing there waiting on the tournaments to start. She walks up and she goes, "I am sick and tired of you girls and all your talking. You're both fired." Okay, I was a teenager living at home. That's fine. So I got my purse and I started walking toward the door. And this bowling alley was open 24 hours a day. The snack bar wasn't. It was open till about 2 on nights of tournaments, including school nights. So I gather my purse up and I head toward the door. And they were automatic doors. And as the second door started to open, her husband comes running up after us. "No, you're not fired. You're not fired. Please come back to work. We've got tournaments. We need you. We know there's nothing else to do but talk. My wife's just mad." So I went back to work. Well, now back to these late nights when we're teenagers working late. This particular night, I was the last one working, and I had cleaned everything up except for draining the French fry grease. So I raced around because I had to get home. I had to get ready to go to school the next day that started at 7 a.m. and it's already 2. And I opened the spigot on the bottom and I forgot to put the bucket underneath, which means the hot oil, well, warm oil, was going all over the floor. So I had to call my dad, wake him up, say, please bring some kitty litter and help me get this cleaned up. So he did. Anyway, another late night I was there. This old man, I say old man, he's probably my age. He was probably my age now, then. And he was kind of a nasty guy. He was always saying things that he shouldn't say. And I blew it off. That happened a lot back in that time period. But this one night I was in that room between the kitchen and the bar, the snack bar and the actual bar. And I felt these hands on my shoulders and he whipped me around, shoved me like hips up against this stainless steel table. And then he started groping me and making these guttural, groaning, panting, disgusting noises. And then he pushes me backwards, puts his mouth on mine, and is making these stabbing motions back toward my tonsils. I was so completely disgusted and grossed out. And of course, I think I said he was drunk. I started pounding on him with my fist, saying, get off of me, get off of me. And he did. And I just rinsed my mouth out, finished my dishes, and I went home. I'm like, that wouldn't happen today. He would go to jail for that today. Anyway, back in the day, things were so different. And I'm so grateful they've changed now because nobody should have to go through that, male or female, being treated like that while you're on the clock, especially. Okay, well, I wanted to get that story finished. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to next time. Bye.